Priest walking to the ring with a purpose, with emphasis, with each step, as he and Drew McIntyre are about to go head to head in what is going to be a true Sin City Street fight for the ages. It's about needing to be laser focused. Keep your eye on the goal. Keep your eye on your opponent. You cannot afford to let your emotions get the best of you in a match like this. And Damian Priest has the lead of Slayer, bringing him out, playing him out to the ring. And that's the energy that Damian Priest needs heading in to this match. Damian Priest taking his time, soaking in the moment. This is a street fight. Anything goes. No disqualification. No count out. And Drew McIntyre not wasting any time going after Damian Priest. McIntyre missed with a clothesline, but Damian Priest did not miss, sending McIntyre to the outside onto the floor. And an elbow off the apron, landing onto McIntyre on the floor. What a heavy forearm. A heavy right there. McIntyre tried to get a jump start on Damian Priest, but it only worked for so little of time, as Damian Priest has taken control of this match, sending McIntyre into the barricade. McIntyre. Oh! What a suplex onto the bottom of the ramp. There is nothing to protect how that feels on the human spine. You heard the sound of flesh and bone connecting and landing on the stage, the ramp. This is Drew McIntyre's 12th WrestleMania match. Let's not forget back at WrestleMania 36, where Drew would finally achieve his destiny. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the way he wanted it to with the pandemic in 2020. But Drew, who was originally scheduled to face Brock Lesnar in Raymond James Stadium, where the Buccaneers play, Drew would ultimately challenge Brock Lesnar, where WrestleMania would be relocated to the WWE Performance Center. But Drew would realize the dream. Drew would achieve his destiny by defeating Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania to become WWE Champion for the first time in his career. And once upon a time, a leader would call him a chosen one, and Drew would do just that. And Drew, who won the world title at last year's WrestleMania, it may not have lasted long, but it's still on the record that Drew has that second reign as a world champion. In fact, a third reign. Drew is a 3-time world champion, former Intercontinental champion, tag team champion. And Drew McIntyre using those steel steps to his advantage on Damian Priest. Damian Priest, who finally won the big one after spending years on the indies. He won the big one when he would cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase on Drew McIntyre at last year's WrestleMania. Although I will say CM Punk warmed up Drew McIntyre a little bit for him. McIntyre's brother just handed him a phone, taking a picture for social media. Let's not forget when McIntyre would post on social media last year. And McIntyre did the same thing last year. And then Punk would attack McIntyre from behind. Punk was on commentary last year. McIntyre using the edge of that chair to the side of the head, to the ear of Priest. McIntyre looking to use anything that he can use to his disposal to take out Damian Priest, including bringing out 2 tables. And McIntyre setting up the table. McIntyre could have gone and pinned Damian Priest, but for McIntyre, it's not about winning this match. It's about punishment, especially after the elimination at the Royal Rumble. McIntyre laying down those tables. Drew McIntyre nearly falling off, teetering. Damian Priest looking for one more shot, but McIntyre with a Glasgow kiss. And a clothesline sends Priest to the other side onto the floor. But Priest landed on his feet and fell down. And McIntyre looking to go high and fly as a sword through the air like a phoenix. He will rise. McIntyre taking out Damian Priest on the outside. And McIntyre going to get Damian Priest back in the ring as quickly as possible to capitalize on the opportunity. McIntyre measuring up Damian Priest. And we know what comes next. Looking for a Claymore. But Priest just threw that chair. But the Claymore connects anyways. That's got to do it. For the win. But Priest stays alive. Priest kicking out at 2. That was a rough throw of that chair at Drew McIntyre. But nonetheless, Drew McIntyre still pushed through and got the Claymore anyways, but not enough to keep Damian Priest down for the 3. And it's McIntyre who now has that chair in hand as he slams it into the spine of Damian Priest, going to work on the back of Priest with another shot as Priest writhes in agony. Wrapping the chair around the neck. This could end Damian Priest. This could be the end. No, not this. If this connects, it's over. Not this. Oh! But a chokeslam to counter, a desperation counter by Priest. But it's McIntyre who kicks out. A desperation chokeslam. Usually, it's Damian Priest who goes for a South of Heaven, in which he lands down on a chokeslam. But he got a standard chokeslam that was a last gasp effort to keep himself alive. He could have broken his neck if Drew McIntyre had gotten his way. And a steel chair to the spine of McIntyre. McIntyre writhing in pain. Oh, and another brutal chair shot to the back of McIntyre. Measuring up McIntyre once more for another chair shot. Priest exposing that turnbuckle bar. Damian Priest, who grew up in a rough area. He's got the chair. Spine buster by McIntyre. McIntyre realized he was in deep trouble. McIntyre, who got a little bit of a breather as Damian Priest was setting up that chair and wedging it in between the top and middle turnbuckle. And McIntyre now going to set up the table that's inside the ring. This is a big opportunity for the Scottish Warrior to take down Damian Priest. McIntyre looking to take out Damian Priest once and for all. McIntyre has Priest up right where he wants him. Priest, no way. No way. And a Razor's Edge. Paying homage to his hero. Oh, but McIntyre stays alive. Priest, whose hero, the late great Razor Ramon, just sent McIntyre through the table with that Razor's Edge. But the Razor's Edge just wasn't sharp enough to keep McIntyre down for the 3. And Damian Priest going to bring the bottom of those steel steps back into play. And now the straps come down. This is where Priest really starts to get hyped and pick things up. Die by the sword in which you wield. Fight till the final moment. And that's exactly what you have to do when you're in a situation like this. Drew doing whatever he had to do, and that was the thumbs to the eyes. And McIntyre, he dreams broken dreams, and he makes them come true as he shocks the future of Damian Priest. But Damian Priest's future is that this match will continue. And the head bouncing off the steel of the steps, off that future shock DDT. But as much as Damian Priest took of that, Drew McIntyre took of that as well, with his back fully connecting onto the steel steps. It's about getting the win, about besting the other. McIntyre, the fury in his eyes. Priest, the same. These two now slapping each other. This is now becoming a slugfest. And these two trading blows. And another shot by McIntyre. McIntyre getting the lead on these blows on Priest, who comes back with chops of his own. And a Glasgow kiss. And a big clothesline as Priest springs back from the ropes to take down McIntyre. This is as hard-hitting as it gets. McIntyre and Priest fighting with their heart, fighting with their hatred of the other. Priest looking to end this now. Paying homage to someone who's had a huge influence on his career. Damian Priest, his version of old school, but instead, he gets sent through the tables. Priest wasting a little bit too much time. McIntyre just wiped out Priest. Priest has been leaned away through those tables. But can McIntyre capitalize? McIntyre through the pain. You saw a little bit of a smirk as Priest fell from above, crashing through those tables. But Priest already stirring a bit. but struggling. But McIntyre's body is worse for wear as well, so having a hard time capitalizing. It's McIntyre's trying to get Damian Priest back into the ring. What in the world is this? McIntyre. Oh my God! The Claymore, the head of Priest going into the steel chair. That's it. Good night. And McIntyre does it. What a hard-fought, brutal Sin City street fight between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. This is as violent as it gets when the hatred is as high as it is between these two. This is what you expect. You expect the ends to be limitless. And in the closing moments, McIntyre wanted it just a little bit more than Damian Priest. And forcing the official to raise his hand high. And that's Dan Engler. Raises the hand of the Scottish warrior Drew McIntyre, who fought through this like a warrior. That future shock DDT did a number on his back in the process of doing damage to Damian Priest. But it was effective. But this is where the ending really happened. Damian Priest was looking to honor somebody who has played a huge influence on his career, being The Undertaker, looking for his version, the old school, but would go through the tables, and then McIntyre would use the chair that Damian Priest introduced that was wedged in the corner to Claymore Damian Priest's head into the chair for the 1, 2, and 3. These two left it all out in the ring. Damian Priest is going to need some serious medical attention after that match, who's looking worse for wear, but it's McIntyre who stands tall. McIntyre getting the victory at the show of shows.